Evan first noticed the window on a Tuesday. It was 6:14 p.m., and the kitchen had that late-day stillness he usually liked. He glanced up from the sink and saw the yard holding itself very still, as if it had been caught doing something it shouldn't. The grass looked arranged, each blade set in place with the care of someone using tweezers. The fence leaned in a way he didn't remember. The light had gone flat and pale, and there was a man he didn't recognize standing in the middle of the yard. He wasn't moving, he wasn't waving. He simply faced the house, patient and certain, as though he had been waiting for Evan to look up. Evan stepped back. The man didn't. At 6:15, the yard slipped back into its ordinary shape. The man was gone. He told himself it was nothing, a trick of the sun, a moment of tiredness. He washed his hands again, though they were already clean, and dried them more carefully than he intended to. The next evening, at the same hour, the window changed again. The yard froze in that same strange stillness. The man had moved closer to the fence. He had one arm raised, pointing upward with a stiff, insistent gesture. His mouth moved, as if forming words, though Evan heard nothing at all. At 6:15, Evan shut the blinds and left them that way. By Thursday, he found himself avoiding the kitchen as the hour approached. He lingered in the hallway, listening to the refrigerator hum. When the clock reached 6:14, the air in the house seemed to tighten. He looked. The man was halfway across the yard now. His gestures were sharper, almost frantic. He pointed at the sky again and again, as if trying to make Evan understand something simple, something urgent. The sight of him sent a cold ripple through him. He backed away until the counter pressed against his spine. Then he slid down to the floor, knees pulled tight, waiting for the minute to pass. At 6:15, Evan nailed a towel over the window. On Friday, Evan usually walked to the cafe for lunch, but the idea of stepping outside made him uneasy. The yard felt too open. The sky felt too large. He made a sandwich he didn't finish and left the plate in the sink, though he usually washed dishes right away. He spent the rest of the afternoon moving from room to room, unable to settle. He kept glancing at the clock. He told himself he wasn't. When 6:14 came, he stayed in the living room. The towel stayed on the window. Saturday was worse. He had plans to meet a friend for lunch. He cancelled. He said he wasn't feeling well. The truth was simpler. He couldn't bring himself to open the front door. The thought of stepping outside felt like stepping into something waiting for him. He stayed home instead. He paced the hallway. He listened to the house creak in the afternoon warmth. He told himself he would go out tomorrow. He told himself many things. By late afternoon, the house felt smaller than it ever had, as though the walls had shifted inward while he wasn't looking. At 6:11, he told himself he was being ridiculous. There was nothing to be afraid of. At 6:12, he took the towel down and resolved to leave the house tomorrow. He folded it carefully, running his hands over the rough terry cloth. At 6:13, he held his breath. At 6:14, the window showed the yard exactly as it always had. Just the ordinary yard, quiet and unchanged, as though the last several days had been nothing at all. Evan let out a shaky breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He stepped closer, almost embarrassed by himself. The yard looked ordinary again, comfortingly so. The kind of ordinary he hadn't trusted in days. The garden needed watering. A breeze moved through the trees, soft and familiar. The clouds above the roofline drifted apart, letting a thin band of sunlight fall across the sink. It warmed his hands. For the first time all week, he felt the shape of his routine settle back around him. He could see himself walking to the cafe, the barista teasing him about his absence while kindly offering him a cookie on the house. He would call his friend and apologize for cancelling, and they would walk in the park and laugh about his week. Maybe he would get a dog. For 1 minute, everything was normal. At 6:15, a great, shattering noise tore through the neighborhood, too large for thunder, too sharp for anything familiar. By the time the dust settled, there was nothing left but a hollowed-out patch of earth and the scattered remains of a life that had once been lived there. Neighbors gathered at the edge of the crater, whispering in the uneasy way people do when they are trying not to look directly at something they cannot understand. No one could say what had happened. No one could say why Evan hadn't gotten out.